Hey guys, welcome game back today, bringing another video, and today we're going through Season 5 loadouts for Call of Duty Warzone, and running through some builds that I think can get the job done here in Season 5 as we approach the halfway point of Season 5 Reloaded coming up. Hopefully we'll get another big balance patch here in the Reloaded mark. I'm assuming we got the big Reloaded balance patch in Season 4, so we should get a big one here in Season 5, which should change this list up a little bit, but we're going to run through this now. Season 5 loadouts for Call of Duty Warzone, mostly Modern Warfare tactical type weapons. We do have some Cold War weapons, but mainly some things that you can use in Warzone here in Season 5. Let's go ahead and back out, and we'll jump over to weapons, and I'll just run through what I have currently equipped that I've been using a lot lately. So first off is the RAAL LMG, or the MG338 by 6 Hours. So this thing obviously just released. This is a pretty standard build. We have the RAAL monochrome suppressor for the sound suppression, damage at range, keep you off the minimap, give you the cons of the ADS speed and the aim walking steadiness. We have the best in-slot barrel here, being the 32-point-inch RAAL line breaker. That's, again, going to be your longest barrel. Give you the damage at range, bullet velocity, and the recoil control. The cons here are the aim down sight speed and the movement speed for that, but you can mitigate that with the tac laser here, obviously, for the aim down sight speed and the other pros and cons there. The only con here is that the laser is visible to enemies, which, again, doesn't really make a difference anymore. It used to be kind of an issue, but not anymore, especially in Warzone. Doesn't really matter. Then we have the Solo Zero 4x integral optic here. So this is basically the flip optic on the other weapons, but there's no flip option here, so you're just stuck there. But it does have the built-in rangefinder. And this really is kind of the perfect optic for the RAAL so far that I've used. It just allows you to get shots on target easy. You're zoomed in enough to you can counter the recoil pretty efficiently. And again, the only con is the aim down sight speed, which you're mitigating already with that tac laser. And then the final attachment is the oblique grip there. That'll help you with the recoil control, and the aim down sight speed is going to be increased as well. The cons is the movement speed. But again, the RAAL LMG, still just a powerhouse. Really good. I kind of prefer, sometimes I'll put FMJs on this thing, and it just hits vehicles very, very hard. But this is a really good LMG option. Again, it's slow firing, so it's good to, you can counter the recoil pretty effectively. It still does kick pretty heavily, but again, you can still get shots on target pretty efficiently. And again, this is just a really good, fun weapon to use, especially because it's new. Then we have the MP510 here, this option. So the MP510, recently this thing got a little bit of a buff with a 10mm ammo. So we have basically your standard MP5 loadout here with the monolithic integral suppressor, tac laser. I swapped out the tac laser. Obviously, I'm adding tac laser and ranger because you're not typically hip firing with this build. And then we have the holographic sight there. The main attachment here is a 10mm round. So again, we're going from 9x19 Parabellum up to the 10mm rounds. And again, you can see the conversion there. The pros are going to be the damage at range, damage and the range, and the cons here, fire rate and the recoil control, which is why we're going to throw that Ranger foregrip on there to help control that recoil a little bit. This is very good for close quarters. Obviously, you don't want to stretch this anywhere outside of really 20 meters, but it's still a very effective close quarters weapon. Go ahead and back out. My Ghost class, just for fully loaded, is the RAAL LMG. Same build we saw, just with fully loaded on there, just so I can get full AR ammo when I need it. And then I'm running a Pila there just because this is the Modern Warfare lock-on launcher. And this thing, again, lock-on on the vehicles. I really enjoy the Strela. However, sometimes it just doesn't destroy the vehicles. There's been too many situations where I use a Strela and hit vehicles in the engine block and they just don't blow up and the people just get out and kill you because you're so slow swapping from the rocket launcher. So the Strela P, again, you don't even need to bother aiming. Lock on, fire it, and forget. It's definitely a little bit better of an option. And you can lock on to the air vehicles. You can go SAM with this thing, surface-to-air missile. It works out really well. Next up, the XM109. So this thing, I have a couple different builds. I'll show you this just for this. This thing, the Harbinger barrel, this is really the close quarters vehicle build. If you're getting pushed by vehicles, this is the thing that I love to use. You can even swap this out, get rid of the rubberized, and put on sleight of hand if you want it. But the Harbinger barrel, this is a unique attachment. You really need to be able to compensate for the bullet drop on this if you're doing anything at range, and you're fixed with the built-in muzzle brake there for recoil control. So you cannot put any muzzle option on. But again, this gives you the best recoil control on this. Cons are the bullet velocity, aim down sight speed, and the movement speed. But if we're going to build this thing from max recoil, you can dump 5 rounds at vehicles within, I'd say, like probably 70 meters without having to really worry too much about bullet drop that much, and dump those 5 rounds. And typically, if you have teammates at least shoot at the vehicle, it's going to blow the vehicle up depending, but it's definitely a fun build to use. Definitely don't try to stretch this thing out too long, but again, 5 rounds you can dump pretty accurately and fast with this. Tac laser, again, just for better ADS speed. This is you're running 25mm rounds on this, so this is obviously a big, heavy weapon for the most part. Optic we can leave at the base just because we don't need to be zooming in that much if we're engaging vehicles, especially with the range limitations for this build. Stock we can leave blank. Same with the perk. And then for the rear grip, again, a rubberized grip tape for recoil control. Cons with aim and stability, but we're making up for that with the tack laser. Put on those 25 by 59 millimeter explosive rounds. So again, upping the caliber from 50 BMG or that 12.7 up to 25 by 59. And again, this thing is cool because these round or ammo conversions on this, they're slower muzzle velocity, however they get through trophy systems, and this one here being explosive works out really well against vehicles and capable of dismemberment. If you can hit people with this, it's going to hurt them, and if you can get splash damage really close with them, it's going to give them a stun effect, and they're going to kind of move slowly. So that's also a big perk to using these type of weapons. So explosive impact and damage. Cons are bullet velocity, recoil control, and fire rate. But again, the one thing it doesn't say is that if you get splash damage at someone's feet with this, it's going to basically give them a stun effect or a slow effect, so they're not going to be moving as fast. Basically the same thing you would get with the one perk here for frangible disabling. Is basically what it does. It does crippling power, essentially, and basically slows the enemy down. So it has that built in with the 25mm rounds. And then for the underbarrel, we'll go ahead and throw on that bipod. Again, it just crouch and recoil prone control, so I'm always going in prone with this thing when I'm using it. Again, you can 5-dump those rounds, and it's just a lot of fun. The mobility on this is actually really good, too. So close quarters vehicles, you can get eyes on target quickly. It's definitely a lot easier than running the longest barrel with the suppressor. You just move so slow. Anything close is just almost impossible to hit if it's moving. This thing, you have better aim blocking movement speed, things like that. It just works a lot better. Now, you can swap this out. You could potentially get rid of this and put on sleight of hand, just for a faster reload in case you do get caught where you need to reload another mag. A lot of vehicles sometimes take 2 mags to blow up if they're full health, so that would definitely help. Another thing you can also do is get rid of the 50 cal rounds, and you can turn this thing into the sniper variant. If we go ahead and switch this up a little bit, and then we'll put on the variable optics. So put on the 7 straight, which is the longest barrel attachment, suppressor, and then the variable zoom. And this is basically the sniper variant. However, I prefer getting rid of the bipod and using the rubberized grip tape. And then this thing here, variable zoom optic. This thing is a lot of fun to use. It's definitely, if you can master this, which I definitely have mastered this at longer ranges, it's still very, very effective sniper rifle. You just got to compensate for that bullet drop, but definitely a lot of fun to use this particular build. So if we go ahead and switch back to our build that we were using, there's our XM109. Again, just really, really fun to use against the vehicles. If you have 2 ride techs in a squad with 25mm rounds on there, vehicles are just going to get destroyed. And again, you don't get a lock on. They get through trophy systems. It works out really well. It's a ton of fun to use. Next up, the GRAU 556. I threw this back in. I haven't tried it yet, but again, I want to use this lately just because of the Cold War meta with the KRIG and the FARA really taking over lately. So I decided to throw in the old meta GRAU, and I'm going to be playing with this a lot lately in Verdansk and just see how it handles compared to some of the KRIGs and the Stoners and things like that. So we're just the standard meta build, monolithic suppressor, longest barrel attachment being that Tempest 26.4-inch Archangel build, tack laser, iron sights on the GRAU, super clean, so you can just use those, 60-round quad stack of the 5.56x45 NATO, and then the commando foregrip just for that aiming stability on this weapon. Again, this thing just a lot of fun to use, especially when you're countering the Cold War meta. Back in the day when it was Modern Warfare meta, I hated this thing, but now because we have the Cold War meta just so grossly overpowered, this thing is definitely acceptable to use in my book. So go ahead and throw that on there. We have the M82 on there, just my standard build here with the M82 for long range with that 20 times optic. Again, a lot of fun to use. M82 definitely not as powerful as it should be, but if you can really use it for a long-range sniping and understand the bullet drop and the velocity, it can definitely be a very deadly weapon still. Next up, the Ash 12 for the Odin. So this is a bit of a different build. This is, again, similar to the long-range build, but this one I built mainly for solos. But you can use this in quads also. It's just you will get caught reloading a little bit. But again, this is a fun build to use. Colossus suppressor, longest barrel attachment for the Odin being the 810mm. Tack laser for aiming down sight speed, aiming stability, and aim walking steadiness. The VLK optic for that 3-time zoom. Get shots on target a lot easier too with the reticle we use. And then the final attachment here will be the Ranger foregrip for the recoil control and the aim and stability. You could also swap this out for the 30-round magazine if you really wanted to. And then the reticle there is going to be the T-pose on there. But again, this is the long range S12. We've seen this build a lot before, however, this is just a 20 round magazine build. And again, this thing still, you can take out full squads with this in quads and Verdansk. And again, it's just a lot of fun to use. And then here, I haven't used this yet, but the GALLO shotgun or the Spaz 12 shotgun, just running this. I don't even know if this is the right build, but sound suppressor, 24.6 inch Ranger, 5 milliwatt for hip fire accuracy, speed tape, and the 12 round 2 bag. So again, really nice weapon here in close range. This thing's supposed to be really powerful. Haven't tried it yet, but we'll give it a try. I think it'll pair really nicely with the Odin for anything close quarters. Next up, my baby loadout. So this thing, again, part of an experiment on an upcoming video. I just covered this yesterday with the Super KRIG 6 video. You can check that out on the channel. This is part of a test, so I won't really go too far into this. You can check out that video, but you can see the build here. This is part of a test of me testing out a few of the meta Cold War weapons just to see how they handle in comparison to my typical Modern Warfare weapon builds that I like to use. And this thing, check out that video, is ridiculous. I played with both this and the MAC 10 for the day, and they're both extremely overpowered and have no recoil. So it's pretty crazy. But again, if you're trying to play and have fun, I will admit I had a lot of fun with these builds. So if you're trying to play and have fun, this is what you want to go with, and it's just very easy to use, and you can get kills really easily, and it definitely makes the game more enjoyable, that's for sure. So next up, the Ace. So we'll go with the CR56 AMAX. This is just an interesting build that I used to use when the weapon first came out. Monolithic suppressor, run the longest barrel attachment on this for the Zodiac, and then the integral hybrid or the Leopold hammer we'll throw on there, and then a 45 round magazine of the 7.62 by 39 millimeter. And the Ranger foregrip for the recoil control and the aiming stability. So your ADS speed is going to be a little slow with this. You can definitely swap out the 45 round mag for the tac laser, and that would definitely assist with that. And then we have that camo on there. Again, this thing, it's still, they nerfed it quite into the ground pretty bad, so it's not as good, but still, it's still just a fun weapon to use, and something decent that you can kind of counter the Cold War meta with. They get run a Pila on there, lock-on missile. This is just a ghost class that I'll pick up in case halfway through a match, if we think we need a launcher or something, vehicle meta, we'll go ahead and pick that up. Next up, PKM and the VAL. So AS VAL, I won't go really too much into either of these builds because we've seen them a lot before, but tac laser, running the base barrel. Tac laser, Viper sight or the Cobra, the Strelic stock for that recoil control, 30 round magazine of the 9x39 millimeter, and then the Ranger foregrip on this weapon for the aiming stability and recoil control. Now I'm running the base barrel, just because this thing got nerfed lately, and again, you really, I think if you're pairing it with certain weapons, this thing's best in close quarter situations. If you can control that recoil, this is really a fun build that I think would be pretty easy to use. Again, this is what I used when the weapon first came out. Granted, it's been nerfed, so you kind of almost want the OSA barrel to stretch that damage at range out as far as you can, but if you know you're going to be using it strictly close quarters, this is a good build to save on some mobility. And then we have the PKM. Again, this is just the longest PKM build. Because I'm running 2 AR weapon for ammos, we're running the fully loaded perk just so I don't have to worry about running out of ammo for this, because the PKM obviously burns through ammo very quickly. Next up, AKM. So this thing, a lot of fun to use. Frustrating to use though, because it's just always been grossly underpowered, but monolithic suppressor of the PBS-4, that Spetsnaz barrel. I still think that Spetsnaz barrel is the best attachment or barrel option here for the Modern Warfare AK. A lot of people will argue the Romanian barrel or the RPK barrel. However, mobility-wise, recoil control-wise, I just still feel the Spetsnaz barrel is going to be the best option for this, giving you the damage at range and the bullet velocity. I don't like the Romanian. It feels like the built-in grip doesn't counter the recoil enough for this weapon. So that's why I go with the Spetsnaz barrel and opt for my own grip on there. Then we'll go with the Leopold hammer or the integral hybrid. Again, just a lot of fun to use that thing. 40 round magazine of that 7.62 by 39 millimeter. And the Ranger foregrip for recoil control and aiming stability. And this thing, again, it looks aesthetically beautiful. Not the best weapon. You're not going to win any gunfights unless you get the shots on target first and you're hitting. But again, it looks beautiful, and it's rewarding when you get those kills with it for sure, because it is a difficult weapon to use in today's Modern Warfare's Warzone. So next up, OTS-9, again, just close quarters. AK is mainly for medium, and the OTS-9 for close quarters. That 9x18 Makarov, fast rate of fire, does a really good damage. And next up, the Stoner 63. So again, this thing's just part of my experimentation. I used this a little bit on Rebirth the other night. You can see the build here. And this thing is dare I say, easier than the KRIG to use. Easily the best machine gun in the game. You don't need to aim or control recoil at all. It has no bullet drop. It doesn't feel like it has any damage drop off. It's just a straight laser beam. You can drop, if I were to use this consistently, I can be dropping my highest kill games easily. The amount of effort I had to put into killing people was very low with this weapon because you don't really need to think. You just point and shoot, and the weapon doesn't move or do anything. So you just keep that reticle, which doesn't recoil at all visually, on target, and you're going to get those kills at stupid ranges that you're not going to get kills with even a PKM. I use this a lot, and then I switch back to the PKM, and it's just night and day difference how accurate this is compared to the PKM. So just keep that in mind. This is part of the experimentation, but you can see that with the MAC-10, nothing special there. A new thing that was added recently was neck damage, which is why this Odin or the S12 is back in the rotation. Neck damage multipliers on some of the weapons, go ahead and check out True Game data, but the Odin has a neck damage of 100% of the headshot. So you're getting the same damage shooting the neck as you would with a head. So you basically have a wider range of headshot hitbox now with this, which makes it very, very deadly. If you hit thorax area to the head, you're going to get that headshot damage no matter what. So the TTK on this can be very, very deadly if you're very accurate with it. So the Odin's back in, and you get that with a few of the weapons. Nothing really standoutish on here. I don't think any of their weapons really got that much. I don't think the GRAU got anything. I don't think the Ace got anything. The M13 got a slight one, but again, hopefully that's part of what we're going to see coming here with the Season 5 Reloaded weapon balance patch. Hopefully we end up getting that. But let me know down below what you guys think. What's your favorite weapon here in the rotation? What are you using here in Season 5 as we get close to Season 5 Reloaded? Again, we're running that awesome Shadow Company operator. Definitely trying to represent Modern Warfare as much as we can here on this channel. But let me know what you guys think down below. Hopefully we get that weapon balance patch at Season 5 Reloaded. And hopefully it brings some of these Modern Warfare weapons back in line and gives us a diverse meta. I think right now the Cold War weapons are just so easy to use, and they do not have recoil, which is a big problem, and it's kind of counterproductive compared to what Raven said that they're going to be doing, is that balancing the weapons, adding recoil, lowering the time to kill of the weapons. It seems like they're doing the opposite, and they're just pushing the Cold War weapons to the forefront. And really right now, it's very difficult for any Modern Warfare weapon to directly compete unless you're outplaying that meta. So let me know what you guys are using here down below. Till next time, this is Buffalo Gaming, out.